Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Is that? Ibrahim, can you turn that off, please? As usual. So we have covered a fair amount of al-Hujjah or al-Dalil, and we said that all of that falls under the logical category of qiyas. And we've already explained what qiyas is. Qiyas is syllogism. It has nothing to do with that bad thing that we reject in fiqh that was introduced by Abu Hanifa. Qiyas is a syllogistic argument formulated in a certain way where it has a minor premise, a major premise, and then a conclusion. We've covered that, alhamdulillah. We've covered the different types, and we understand all of that. And we've understood that if you have the material that you chose for an argument is right and soundproof, of course, the conclusion is also going to be right and soundproof and flawless. That's what logic does. Logic gives you the skill of categorizing the information that you have to make sure that you always end up with a good, right, sound, flawless, undeniable conclusion. Another way of what we call al-Hujjah or al-Dalil or arguments is what we call Istiqrā. And Istiqrā is induction. And of course, there's also deduction as well. Who did their homework? 1, 2, 3. Okay, you weren't here. Sister's side. All right. The third is what we call tamthil. Tamthil. What does tamthil mean? No one say acting. Analogy. Tamthil means analogy. Right? This is the batil qiyas that we have in fiqh. Not this. This is the batil qiyas that we have in fiqh. Because tamthil is comparing one thing with another thing that has some similarity and coming up with a conclusion. What is strong? The strongest is qiyas, especially if it's qiyas al-Burhan, right? The strongest is qiyas al-Burhan, which is 100% yaqini, 100% certain, right? Then, of course, after that is Istiqrā. You've got Istiqrā tam, you've got Istiqrā naqis, complete Istiqrā, and insufficient Istiqrā, right? And of course, tamthil, which is another form of argument, but not as strong, right? Where you have some ruling of something and then a ruling of another thing, and there being a similarity, a shared component between them, and coming up with a natija. Let's read Istiqrā. We'll only do Istiqrā today, and then in our next lesson we will do tamthil. Okay? Yep. Start Hajj, please.
Induction is a ruling on a universal in proving it, based on the law of the particulars of that universal. After following up.
Okay, let me explain what that means. Seeing that you have done you're reading and you've prepared for the lesson with your homework, that obviously that means that you have an understanding of what induction is. You come up with a universal ruling, a universal law, after proving the particulars falling under that universal law, right? So you're in Sydney and you check the tap water and you say it's drinkable. You travel to 900 other places around the world and you also find out that their tap water is drinkable, right? You come up with the conclusion that tap water is drinkable, right? A ruling on a universal, in proving it based on the law of the particulars of that universal. Carry on.
After following up the particulars of a certain topic and finding that it has the same law, this law proves a universal subject. But induction is faced with the epistemic problem, which is that it does not result in having certainty, but the only speculative one.
Okay, so this is why we're not adding Istiqrā under qiyas, because we said of course the favored argument is the qiyas burhani argument. As for Istiqrā, it does not result in yaqeen. It does not result in yaqeen. It only results in dhan, right? We've explained this before, but we will explain it again. 100% is yaqeen, right? 0% is shunu, jahl, right? 50% is shunu, shak, right? Anything here is wahm. From here onwards is called dhan, right? So dhan is useful. It's not that it's not useful, but it is not certainty. Dhan means speculative. Shak means doubts. You're 50-50. Wahm means that you are, of course, you have an estimation, and jahl, of course, means ignorance. Jahl means ignorance. Okay, so the epistemological problem, the ma'rifi problem with Istiqrā is that it does not result in yaqeen. It results in dhan, in speculation. Make sure if you weren't here in our last lesson, you catch up with what we discussed in our last lesson so you are on the same page. Carry on.
This is because induction is the ruling of particulars and it is not universal, encompassing all individuals under it based on time and place.
Right. So you might, for example, think that you have covered all areas of tap water, but then come to realize that no, there are many more areas that you have not yet covered. Carry on.
This method does not result in certainty, but only a preference in oneself, even though the ruling claims that it encompasses all the individuals of the subject.
Yes. Carry on.
Induction in reality also returns back to a conjunctive syllogism of the third kind, like A, B, A, C.
So
A is equal to B, and A is equal to C, therefore B is equal to C. Right?
yeah, A, B, A, G, therefore B is C. A, B, A, C, sorry. So a conjunctive syllogism is what we said as a qiyas iqtirani. Remember, conjunctive is iqtirani. How many types of qiyases did we have? Iqtirani and istithna'i. So Zayd, Amr, and Bakr are human beings. Zayd, Amr, and Bakr laugh. Therefore, some human beings laugh. Right? Yeah. This is going back to a conjunctive syllogism that is what a qiyas resembles. Sorry, that what a istiqrā resembles. Istiqrā resembles a قياس اقتراني من الشكل الثالث. Right? Read out some of the examples that you read. What's the difference between induction and deduction?
So basically, if the author of the argument believes that the truth of the premises definitely establishes the truth of the conclusion due to definition, like whether it's logical or mathematical, then the argument is deductive.
Yeah.
But if the author of the argument does not think the truth of the premises definitely establishes the truth of conclusion, but nonetheless believes the truth provides a good reason to believe in the conclusion, then the argument is inductive.
Yeah.
For example, case of animals using the lower jaw to eat. All right, يلا تفضل. Some guy did a survey of many animals and he found out they use the lower jaw to eat.
Yeah.
Now, however, there's a possibility some animals don't use their lower jaw, they use the upper jaw. So his argument is deductive.
Yeah.
Which is based on a possibility, not safe.
Yeah.
Deductive is when it's certain. When it's 100% deductive. So the animal jaw will be inductive. Based on the cases, like the water example. The water example is inductive because Sheikh Zayd, he went to many Sydney places and he found out the water is drinkable. But in some cases where the water is not drinkable, then he makes it induction.
Okay, so a lot can be said about Istiqrā. Shaheed al-Sadr rahimahullah has a book that is yet even to be discovered and understood by many Western philosophers called al-Usus al-Mantiqiyya lil-Istiqrā, which has been translated into English as well. Carry on with the last part. So we
as explained, depending on a deduction cannot benefit except in resulting in a speculative conclusion, which is subject to change. And this is what has led those who limit their sciences to believe that science changes and there is nothing fixed. Therefore, it is not possible to depend on it for certainty, especially in human sciences that assist the fate of the human being in this worldly life and after it.
So, what this means basically is usually scientists, right, depend on Istiqrā, right? Scientists usually depend on Istiqrā when they're doing their field study, when they're doing their surveying, when they're doing their statistics work, and they come up with a universal conclusion. And then when someone proves them wrong, they say, well, you know, how easy is it for science to change that quickly? An example for this, hundreds of years ago, when they would say that something is mahal, something is impossible, right? Like we say, it is impossible for there to be a partner for God. It is also impossible to, for example, they would say, وَهُوَ مَحَالٌ كَالصُّعُودِ إِلَى الْقَمَرِ. It is impossible like going up to the moon. يعني no, it's impossible to go to the moon, right? So they would give that resemblance of something being absolutely impossible with something like going up to the moon. And because those things can change very quickly, proven that someone, unless you're one of those conspiracy theorists like me who don't believe that someone's gone to the moon, but it was a studio in Hollywood, right? If we say that that was the case, then how easy did science disprove the impossibility of something? And therefore, when it comes to science, nothing is written in rock, right? Nothing is absolutely fixed and non-changeable. This is, of course, the atheistic argument. Hawkins always brings this up. Dawkins, whatever his name is, Richard, brings these kind of things up with the change of science, right? The ma'yar of how we understand things is science. Assuming that science is unchangeable, but science is definitely changeable. And from the beginning, logically, Istiqrā does not carry the value of yaqiniyat, and therefore it's out of its place anyway. If you base your argument, especially for us as believers, if you base your argument on dhanniyat, speculative things, then yes, you have every haqq to criticize, but we don't base our belief on dhanniyat, but only on yaqiniyat. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.